Russia's defense minister Sergei Shoigu is shown on state television visiting troops fighting in Ukraine. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries has raised Nigeria's oil production quota.
In all we do, we remain committed to informing you.
It's 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Your station for talk.
Be part of the discussion. It's Borderline.
On 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Welcome back to Borderlines, the only show that takes you beyond borders. I told you today we are crossing borders to Sudan, and we're still staying in Sudan because there's a lot to talk about on Sudan. Indeed, if Borderlines was a show that happened every single week, we still wouldn't have enough time to actually cover what's been going on in Sudan. So you've heard Professor Makesh give us, Professor Kapila, give us, from that sort of UN point of view, from the intellectual point of view, from a more sort of global world point of view. My next guest is going to give us from a Sudanese point of view. His name is Elbashir Idris. He's been here before. He's a distinguished Sudanese voice who has tracked the violence, the displacement, and the shadowy network sustaining the RSF campaign of terror. His insights cut through the noise, laying bare the reality behind the headlines. So where are we crossing over to specifically right now? We are shining a light on Elbashir. That's a city that has been under siege for more than 500 days, with over 500,000 people trapped between hunger and horror, bombarded, displaced, and starved. Humanitarian agencies warn of looming famine, yet the international community looks the other way. But you see, this is not just a Sudanese tragedy. It is a crisis. It is engineered and sustained by foreign hands. And Elbashir is going to tell us who they are. How are you? Welcome back to Borderlines again, Elbashir.
Thank you very much for having me again, and I'm so glad that you've decided to go down this route of exploring and exposing what's going on in Sudan today.
Indeed. I mean, look, like I said earlier in my introduction, if Borderlines was a daily show, not a weekly show, 2 hours every day, we still wouldn't be enough to talk about what's going on in Sudan. Heck, it wouldn't be enough to talk about all the conflicts that's going on in Africa. So we're a weekly show and we try to do our best as often as possible. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for that as well.
Talk to us about Elbashir. What's going on?
So currently, we are in the midst of Sudan's breaking point, where essentially we're seeing a city called Elbashir, which is located in North Darfur. For your viewers who don't know, Darfur is in the west of Sudan, which means it borders with Chad. Chad is directly bordering with Sudan. And in Darfur, as you had with your previous distinguished guest, Professor Kapila, the last genocide that happened there was just 20 years ago during his watch. And now we're seeing that again happen. And the reason why this is such a critical point to focus on is because, surprisingly, we may see a new African country being formed here. For those who don't know, the African Union has established within its chartered union that it will not change the borders that they gained during the colonialist era. However, what's happening in Sudan now and even during 2011 with the creation of South Sudan, what we're seeing here is the creation of a new state, the Sudan's second secession. And the reason why Al-Fashir is so critical to all of this, it's because it's the last city under the control of the Sudanese armed forces and currently the Rapid Support Forces, notably known as the Janjaweed 20 years ago, are the ones besieging this city now. Al-Fashir before the war was home to around 2 million people. Currently, there's only 300,000 people left. Half of that 300,000, we're talking about children. And there is a situation there where there is no food, no resources, no supplies being entered or any movement being entered through the city, leaving people to starve and face a famine. And essentially using starvation as a weapon of war. And essentially the Rapid Support Forces' aim here is to kill off the entire city, capture it, thus making the whole Darfur region, which is under RSF control, liable for secession in the eyes of the Rapid Support Forces. This is a kind of system similar to what we are seeing in Libya between Haftar and the Libyan government. Essentially, we have one country but two governments, and that is what we could kind of see happening here in Al-Fashir as well, if the Rapid Support Forces does complete that capture. So this is why it's of critical essence, and even due to the modern warfare that we're seeing in today's day and age, this isn't any type of same warfare that has Toyota trucks and 4x4s zooming through the desert. No, there's some advanced weaponry here, including drones, including APCs, including machinery and weapons that are coming out, not manufactured in Africa at all, being manufactured from the outside, being sent in to Sudanese of different political opinions, and essentially we are losing Sudanese blood thanks to these weapons, and it's changed the whole concept of warfare in general and in Africa, and especially in Sudan. Thus, what's happening in Sudan, in Al-Fashir as well, could be a blueprint of what's to come for the future of the continent if we do not be vigilant now to the atrocities being made out there.
Okay, let's go back, because I think it's important that, my listeners, they understand exactly. So Elbashir is in Darfur. Darfur is in the Darfur region, right? And what you've said to us so far is that it looks like there might be a creation of an independent Darfur. Is that correct?
Independent.
A cessation. A cessation.
Yeah, they're trying to do that. But by who and by what means?
Is what I wanted to ask. Yes, who wants Darfur ceded from Sudan?
Well, if we wanted to find out the answer to that question, I'm sure a simple referendum could have been done, like it was done in 2011 in Sudan, when the referendum was done for South Sudanese, whether they wanted their own country. They voted massively in favor for it, and as such, their wishes were respected. But in this case, when you're using guns, ethnic cleansing, genocide, starvation as a weapon of war, and all the extreme violence, that really does put into question: is this setting up a precedent for militias within Africa to just do whatever they want and commit as much violence as they want, so they can split their country up? If the RSF is allowed to do that, then every single militia in Africa should be allowed to cause as much extreme violence as possible to create their own states, which of course is purely nonsense. And so for this idea of who wants this seceded Sudan, I'm sure there are historical grievances, but violence is certainly not the answer. Neither is starvation and genocide. That is not the answer to do that, as we've seen in Africa and other parts of the world as well.
Indeed. Certainly. Now, let's talk about, you said, through militias. So those who will benefit, because as they say, follow the money. It's always about the money. It's always about capitalism. The breakup, what's in the fall? What mineral resources are in the fall? Let's, I see you smiling. Yes, that's the key question. Let's talk about that. Explain to us, educate us.
In Darfur in 2007, there was found the world's largest underwater freshwater reservoir that is so deep down the current technology that we have as humans cannot reach it. In Darfur, there are rumored to be deposits of uranium and also mass deposits of gold. If we really wanted to follow down the money, let's go straight into it. You captured Darfur, and the backers of the Rapid Support Forces, notably the United Arab Emirates, and their backers, notably the United States of America, would have unprecedented access to resources that would continue the free market economy. The only reason why the West and the rest of the world gets to enjoy this very notion of free market economy and neoliberalism is because it exploits and plunges and essentially rapes Africa so they can take as many resources as they please. And Darfur is also part of that equation. And underneath Darfur, let's be very realistic here. In the next 50 years, let's talk strategically. In the next 50 years, there's going to be, and even now we're having water problems, drinking water problems, the ability to defend ourselves, the ability to even nourish. And I'm sure all the nations around the world will be fighting with each other to be able to get that. That freshwater reservoir at the bottom of God knows how many kilometers. I was just reading the article, actually. I'm pretty sure more than 50 kilometers underneath. Wow. For those who don't know, the name is Lake Ptolemy. Ptolemy spelled with Ptolemy. That lake is the key to the future of freshwater reservoir and reserves. If we want to go down even deeper by following the money trail, a few years ago, the United Arab Emirates, the UAE has a water problem. They are essentially a petrol station with a flag, as some politicians have noted, and because of that, they don't have enough water. They even suggested the idea of towing an iceberg from Antarctica all the way down to the Gulf, Middle Eastern Gulf, so that glacier water, that iceberg water, would be the fresh water it can use. Clearly, the UAE, even though it has one of the richest amounts of monies in the world, still hasn't been able to solve the most basic question: where is it going to get fresh drinking water from? And I see it from my analysis is that this war, this control, is a means of being able to strategically have that ready and then be able to sell it out to the rest of the world, especially as climate change comes in and makes life much more difficult, especially as climate change leads to climate migration, as people are leaving so they can have better crops, better lifestyle, just the ability to eat and not be in a desert. Such resources, such as water, will be infinitely important, more than oil. And it will lead to water wars. Heck, for goodness sake, we're already seeing that in Egypt and Ethiopia with Jerd Dam, the grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, and the way that Egypt and Ethiopia are having issues with each other. Yeah. And Sudan is also in the middle of between those two countries. So in this aspect, one of the things that they really want, it's not just the gold. That gold is it's a long-term investment. I'm sure you've seen on the news that the Rapid Support Forces essentially smuggles the gold out of Sudan, sends it to the UAE, and then the UAE sends it to its partners around the world, which is one of the reasons why Russia has managed to not fall, its economy not tank during international sanctions at the start of the Ukraine war. It's because of Sudanese gold, of African gold. But it's not only that. And I'm even sure that some of your viewers might know that gold prices per ounce is now the highest ever in the world. So it really does, in its record. So it really does make you beg the question, why was it that gold prices have went up only after the gold had been smuggled out of Africa? was gold not expensive enough already when it was within African nations, but the moment they took it out and then did their refineries with it, then suddenly it went up. It makes you really think that the whole market may be against African nations. But then continuing on, the backers want that guarantee of resources, may it be gold. They want that guarantee of fresh water, such as Lake Ptolemy. I've mentioned uranium deposits. For the past few decades, they've been, well, I don't want to go down the rumor windmill, but it's quite known within the Sudanese locals of Darfur that there is uranium within Darfur as well. And if I were to connect that with recent geopolitical happenings, France has lost its control within the Sahel states, especially Niger, which has a lot of uranium, and Niger was forced to sell their uranium at the cheapest to France. France operates in the Sahel through tribal proxies that it uses to get its own way, along with governments. And one of the reasons some people are actually talking about the role of France in the war in Sudan, as in the beginning of this war, we've seen a heavy amount of tribal armies, you could say, move and attack into Sudan during the war that came in from Niger, from Mali, but then they were also having an ethnic dimension where they were related to the Rapid Support Forces. The reason why this militia is one of the most dangerous in the world is because this militia expands beyond borders. This isn't a militia that just says, okay, we are limited.
That's regional.
Here. It's regional. And due to its regional influence, it also means it has that same influence coming in from international actors. Let's also go into the reason why this militia was actually funded by the EU from 2013 and something called the Khartoum process.
Let's take, before you go in there, let's hold on to that. Yes, because again, one of the reasons Borderlines is so important is because we want, we use it as an opportunity to raise awareness, education, and actually give our listeners ammunition in order to be able to go out and advocate, for a better Africa, a better world by extension. It's interesting that you talked about the violence and the unique position of the RSF and how they spread their atrocities around the whole region, and they're almost boundless. We've seen credible investigations, reports, if you like, from places like Reuters about Colombian ex-soldiers fighting in Sudan. Why would Colombian mercenaries end up in Al-Fashir? And
I don't know.
And in relation to what you've been saying, with regards to the likes of the UAE, who I will want us to come into later to talk a bit more about later, is, what is this? Well, now that we're hearing about Colombian ex-soldiers, what does this say about the privatized and, if you like, globalized, sort of style, rhythm of this war?
Well, to add in further as well, it's just been reported yesterday that dead Ukrainians were found within the ranks of the Rapid Support Forces, providing technical drone support as well. So what we're seeing here is literally a mini world war happening within Sudan, where all these countries and mercenaries are sending their men, even from non-state channels. Pardon me. And they're using Sudan as a testing ground, as a battleground. Tell me why there are Chinese weapons being sent to Sudan via the UAE. Tell me why there are American javelins being found in Sudan, why Turkish weapons are there, why Iranian drones are there. All these different kind of different kind of...
it's all right, you can take some water if you need to.
Thank you. No, it's as if they can hear me right now. But what I'm saying is, there's a mini world war breaking out in Sudan and nobody knows about it. It's as if all these different countries have decided together, plotted together, conspiring with one another that the only thing they should do is subdue Sudan to such a point and extent that the people do not remain, the resources remain. A nice analogy I like to put forward to people is that during coronavirus, many nations had to use their own resources to be able to survive the lockdowns. In a world built on globalization, where everybody kind of interacts with each other to help each other, the world stopped being global during COVID, and as such has lost a lot of money. I like to think that the world has decided essentially to come together. They've plotted and they said, guys, you've lost money, I've lost money. Let's all find a way to refill our coffers. And the weakest in the group was Sudan, and they found a way to essentially bully it and to extract it. I'm saying this because the news will tell me that Ukraine and Russia are at war. But it's why am I seeing Wagner groups or African Corps from Central African Republic assisting the Rapid Support Forces, along with Ukrainians assisting the Rapid Support Forces? How have two enemies of Europe become two friends in Africa to hunt us down? It doesn't make any sense. And there's a lot of earth-shattering, mind-shattering moments throughout this war. And that doesn't fit the normal narrative that we have on how politics and geopolitics works or is supposed to work. So this is clearly a grand money-making scheme for many nations. And even if it's not the nations, the non-state actors involved in the mercenary groups, UAE has the money. Let's not be naive about this. They can essentially go around and throw their money about, especially in communities where they find young impoverished men, and that's where they found the Colombians, those who had military training, who had finished their time within the military, had not much of a scope of success in their lives, and essentially the UAE came in with a handout or with a carrot saying, hey, you're going to come with us and we're going to do protection duty in some places, but they never mentioned Sudan. So all the ones that have ended up in Sudan, these Colombians that have ended up in Sudan, apparently they get paid about $2,000 only. So you're being paid $2,000 to go into a country within Africa that you don't even know you're entering. You're not even going to survive the heat, let alone the mosquitoes, let alone everything else. And now you're being the invader against the native people there, and they're young boys, they're teenagers actually in some of them, and you see in the photos these are very young guys who don't know what they're doing, but they thought it will be a fun game. And if there's one thing to say, Sudan and Africa is an imperialist graveyard. So this idea of all these different mercenary groups coming in. They may think it's a new age of mercenary. It's a golden age of mercenaries, but I will certainly say, do never, absolutely never try to put the life of an African on the scales against the native of an African. What I'm trying to say is, if you think you can come in for the money, and you're going to deal with some real heavy people who want to protect their land, and that's what the UAE cannot understand. That's what many of these Western nations can't understand. You can't buy victory with money.
Indeed, you can't. But let's stay on the UAE.
Yes.
Of course, it's no longer news. You've just broken it down to us how they fuel the conflict. Last month, Samantha Power of USAID said, and I quote, Sudan risks becoming the world's largest hunger crisis. Why do you think Washington, London, and Brussels stop short of action, but yet keep going on about these perfunctory, condemnations and faux outrage?
It's a bit ironic and hypocritical, isn't it? They should really just be focusing on what's happening in their countries. Currently, we have the fall of liberalism and neoliberalism, and the humanitarian system that has been going since the end of World War II has been based on this liberal system of ideals, of rule of law, of humanitarian principles, or not even humanitarian principles, but the principles of equal humanity. Those principles have fallen short for the past few decades, but especially it's been exposed heavily during this war in Sudan, and even in other parts of around the world. And treatment as well that Sudanese have been getting compared to, say, the counterparts in Ukraine tells you the story you need to know. For the UK, the US, and Brussels to lecture the world about these liberal ideals that we all once looked up to. Absolutely, we looked up to them, but to believe that the words that they're saying reflects their actions is nonsense. Yes, it is true that Sudan is at risk of it, and a few sections of Sudan has been noted as a Category 5 IPC level 5 famine. But also, Sudan is also one of the world's most arable lands, with soil that can become the breadbasket, and had been previously the breadbasket of the Middle East and Africa. As much as the war is going on and we're losing human beings, let's hope the soil hasn't been damaged, unless America, Brussels, and the UK know something that we don't. But the most important thing is that the sooner we can end this war, the sooner that we can go back to growing food that would stop this situation being so. But I have to be very frank. I can't act and be sounding like a mouthpiece here. Sudan has also had its fair share of famines, unfortunately to say. Remember back in the 80s, and Ethiopia had it. Heck, even Michael Jackson made a song called "Feed the World" because about it. God rest his soul. And the scope at what we're looking at now is much worse. Much worse because of this. But
let me ask you a question, and I'm glad you brought that up, because what the Sudanese are not looking for is another song and a feed the world, right? No, what they're looking for is action. Now, whilst we see celebrities, yes, they're reluctant about speaking up for Gaza, what's their excuse for not speaking up for Sudan? I mean, look, it's not like they have to worry about their money or their contract with the record companies. We hear of doctors performing surgeries without anesthetics, of families boiling grass for food. Yet it's not making the front pages. The world's so-called celebrities, those who would have joined Bob Geldof to sing "Feed the World" and, all that boring stuff, none of them are saying anything about Sudan. What is it? Right? We've still got a lot to cover. I'm going to give you 1 minute to respond to that. We have a lot to cover.
I'll be very quick. I think the reason why is because 20 years ago, when George Clooney was talking about Sudan and pushing for and talking about the Darfur genocide, the perpetrators then were the regime, was the Sudanese army and the Janjaweed together. Those two people are now the ones fighting each other. Just because the bully right now is crying doesn't mean that the bully is right. And that is the reason why we're seeing this conflict in Sudan being very not talked about. Because, to be honest, the Rapid Support Forces and the army come from the same kind of branch, and that branch is an Islamist branch that the West does not favor at all, and really has corrupted the country of Sudan during its 30-year tenure. So the reason why they're not talking about it is because, regardless of what happens, I'm sure they're seeing it as the Sudanese deserve it. This is what they get. This is what they get for having a strong sense of Islamism within the country. But that's why the revolution in 2019 happened. Exactly. But they don't want to hear the voices of those who are caught between this side and this side, which is the silent majority. They don't want to hear that. They would rather see these two fight it out destroy each other in the process. But at the same time, it's destroying all Sudanese in that process, due to the weapons, due to the starvation, due to the ethnic cleansing. They may call it complicated. No, it's really not that complicated. The ones that were committing genocide together just 20 years ago are now fighting each other. And
and this is the thing, just allow you to grab a cup of water. They are not fighting each other independent of international involvement and international funding. They are fighting each other because they've got international funding, because there are international forces behind them. And so I come back to then the EU. So you have Sudanese ambassadors at the UN, etc. What are they doing? That's the first thing I've got to ask, because I think the noise that we hear from the Gazans is mainly down to the Palestinians. Let's be honest. It wasn't the rest of us that started the noise. They started the noise. They took over the space, and they made sure we're not forgetting about their struggle, even though, let's be frank, the world had forgotten up until October 7th. Here we are, an opportunity. Yes, there's a lot of noise out there, but there's still space for the Sudan crisis to actually be top. Why is that not happening? One, with regards to the ambassadors. Two, the Sudanese people who only very recently started to create social media videos and stuff. Why?
In terms of the ambassadors, sometimes the best thing is to, in their eyes, would be to keep quiet and not to talk about it. Put it this way: they will talk about it when they lose. They don't talk about it when they win, because when you start winning, then you start getting other people to look, and you don't want a person to look at your progress as you're winning, which is in this case in Sudan. Like, for example, why the RSF got pushed out of Khartoum earlier this year, of the capital. The RSF have been losing ground in a place called Kurdistan, which is also a heavy conflict is happening there as well. In a few states called Kurdistan in Sudan, heavy conflict is happening there. Why is it that you're not hearing about what's going on there as much? It's because the ambassadors of Sudan within the UN know that they're winning. If you will only make noise when you're losing. And in all due respect to the Palestinians, and all due respect, they don't have an army. They never had an army like the ones in Sudan.
Yeah.
They have freedom fighters, but they were severely limited in their capabilities due to massive amounts of restrictions and what the world has allowed and Israel has allowed. But then when you compare that to Sudan, Sudan has an army. Sudan has helicopters. It has fighter jets. It has these planes. So to put them on equal footing as each other would be incorrect, as one genuinely, I believe, really needs it, which is the Palestinians. And the Sudanese, its oppressors, funnily enough, also have the goodies, who are the army. And at this current point of time, it's the army and the rapid support forces with these brand new high-tech weaponry that I don't think they will want to talk about that much, really, because this is the blueprint of what's going to happen to other nations. Just pit them to fight each other. Everybody runs away. You've now created forced displacement to the point that this displacement will go into other continents where they could be used for cheap manual labor, or in the slavery markets, or in the black markets, or organ trafficking. And at the same time, you can extract as much resources as you wish within that country. I think this is colonialism really perfected. This is a neo-colonialist approach, a strategy that has been perfected down to the T, down to the point where you create this narrative of everyone fighting each other. The people run for their lives. You get to steal what they have in their homes, whilst also making use of the people who are too tired and weak to fight back.
Okay. So let's talk about the young people in Sudan then. Who is speaking for them? Okay, we've got the two giants, if you like, fighting. And now you have a mass of young people who are trapped. Some have been able to get out. The vast majority are not able to get out. Who is speaking for them? Because at some point, somebody has to speak for the citizens. There has to be space for the citizens to be represented beyond the government factions who are fighting with each other, who are actually, representing foreign thieves and colonizers over the people.
Okay, but the question I'll ask, well, I'll answer your question, but what I'll ask is, where is the appetite for discussions to be had for the civilian spaces to come in the first place? There is no appetite. The amount of violence and extreme violence that we've seen up to this point now it really you reach a point in human psychology where you've seen so much barbarism, and you've seen the lack of will from the world to come in and help you. That it's going to take a while for you to come out of this mode of absolute just murder and death and horror and war. That there is still no appetite, unfortunately, and that's the issue here. So much has been done to the young people of Sudan even before this war has happened. This war was the breaking point, and what I fear is that we've lost many young boys to the very concept of extreme violence is necessary. And as you say correctly, when will there be a time when that extreme violence would be replaced by civil discussions and talks and a civilian space and civil society? Unfortunately, the amount of pain that is there will not allow that to happen. And even if there is that space, there's so much trauma, there's so much that it's not that easy to do so. But I'm sure that once everybody is able to come around together and be able to talk out, then we'll know how to deal with the root causes of what started this war, what started these militias in the first place. But there's so much tunnel vision that people can't look left or right at the moment, and that's exactly what militaries, unprofessional militaries want. That's what unprofessional militias want. They want young boys who can only see red but can't have blue sky thinking, and that's one of the consequences of this war. But will we see that appetite for it? And who is that voice, you say? I wish I knew the answer, but currently I can know what the sound is, and the sound is that of an AK. So there's no voice right now.
I had to take a deep breath because I think that's a really profound yet startling quote. The sound is the sound of an AK without a voice. And so I'm much as I want to open up the lines, I still have many more questions to ask you, and we've only got 12 minutes or so left. I know it goes very fast. It's kind of crazy. It goes very fast. Now, the thing is, there's a Sudanese diaspora, which is sizable, right? Which is sizable. How can we, other Africans, because I'm not going to ask the question of the EU, because I think we can agree that they've become pretty useless. Would you accept?
Yeah.
They've not been any, so what's the point of asking that? But there are the Sudanese in the diaspora and other African citizens, both in the diaspora and, also within the continent. What can we do? Beyond me having this conversation with you, right? What can we do? Because one of the reasons, again, what the Palestinians have been able to do was to also engage and bring in other other groups into their struggle and use them to help them amplify and force the world to change. Yes, it's not there yet. Of course, there's still a lot of lies, thievery and fakery going on with regards to Palestine. But at the very least, the world is taking notice. How can we do that? What can we do? What is the message?
I'm sure.
Give me 5 points, 3 points that you would like before we run out of space.
Whoever can feed my people, whoever can clothe, whoever can put a shelter, whoever can heal, whoever can educate our people, these are the ones I'm going to support. And though the Palestinians and Gazans have taken a different approach, here's the approach that we as Africans in the country, in the continent, and within the diaspora we can take. One of the reasons we've had so many issues within our continent is due to corrupt militaries. We have many different ways of bullying, of neo-patronalism, but we don't need to live like that anymore. I'm not saying we're going to go kumbaya. No, we need to rethink military. We need to rethink what we do as a people. I want us to take advantage of a certain thing. If the UAE believes that it can use mercenaries because young boys have skill sets that can be used in times of war, why can't we, tell me this, why can't we retrain our young boys, all right, who have gone through the machines of war and who have got their best trainings within their country? Why can't we retrain these people as humanitarian missions and workers, not just in Africa, but around the world? The only difference between a soldier and a humanitarian on the front lines is one knows how to use the gun, but you've got to have the same level of physical fitness, the same analytical skills, the same strategy vision, and so forth.
So in that case then, so if there's an activist, an African or African either in the continent or in the diaspora who say, I want to be advocating for Sudan henceforth, what are the 5 things, 4 things, 3 things you would tell them to do?
Well, here's what I'm saying. I'm saying, make people realize power. Number one, make people realize the power of not having a gun, non-violence. Okay? It's believe it or not, a coward. It's very easy for a coward to pull a trigger. Okay, I want you to realize just how powerful it is to be able to stand up and say no to all of this.
Okay, number one.
That's number one. Number two, Sudanese, they will have a lot of different opinions on the matter, but essentially, let's come back to the most basic human stuff, and that is, nobody wants to live in a world of war. Okay. So be human again. What does that mean? It's like, live your life, but then please, the joy that you've enjoyed from your life, please wish it upon others. You know. And that's the joy that the Sudanese people want. Okay, it's that normal life that's been stripped away from them. If you're enjoying your life now, I really hope that you're able to
remember Sudan, remember the people of Sudan. Yeah.
You know, I'm not gonna say the typical, like, do petitions and stuff like that. I don't become very, like,
disillusioned. By
that. But if the protest works in these kind of countries, protest, absolutely protest. Not only that. I want people to have a belief that just because something may look expensive or have a lot of money doesn't mean it will supersede the human soul.
Thank you.
That's one thing I want people to remember, and I want them to observe and see very carefully during this war in Sudan.
Thank you.
It's just because
I'll have to interrupt you because I have like 7 minutes left and I need to. All the lines are ringing, and I need to answer the calls. Is that all right? They have questions for you. Right, if you've got pen and paper there, just write them down. Here's a question. Where is it from? It's from Yomi from Muriokola on the issues of Sudan conflict. Please ask your guest, is pathways to peace and stability sustainable in Sudan with the foreign influence supporting the two generals? Right, that's from Yomi. I'm going to pick up another one. Hello. Hello.
And Tahani in Casablanca.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes.
Number one. Yeah. Thank you. You can hear me.
You can only ask one question, Titilokwe, please. I don't have time, unfortunately.
No problem. No problem. This question is very, very awkward for Jermaine, and I'm happy he is a Sudanese citizen. Now, look at the situation right now. The police, perilous humanitarian circumstances the people are going through.
Ask the question, Titilokwe. Ask the question, please.
Yes, now that is the question. I want him to compare the problems they have right now where it's a situation whereby Omar al-Bashir has not been deposed. I think he has not been deposed.
Okay.
Which one is okay for him?
Okay, I get you. Thank you. So the deposition, the uprising against Omar al-Bashir, would it have been better to have stayed with him than where we are or where Sudan is right now? Make a note of that and I'll answer this. Hello.
Yeah, okay.
Very quickly, one question.
I don't know if it's Kenya or Chad. It's claimed that one of these countries is being used, to carry out goals, and then bring in weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to make a comparison, with our civil war because there was a negotiation between Nigeria and Cameroon that we ceded Bakassi. Is it that the Sudanese military, isn't going through a proper negotiation, with this this country, to curb the RSF? What is the opinion of your guests, on
What's the question? I didn't get the question, though.
Nigeria gave a better negotiation, with Cameroon.
Yeah. So what's the question?
Yeah. Should the government give a better proposal, to this country that RSF is using?
Okay, all right. So I think the question from Emmanuel is, given that Nigeria negotiated with Cameroon, perhaps there needs to be a negotiation with the countries that you said the RSF are using to get the gold out of the country. Write that down. Don't worry. I don't need you to answer one more and then you can respond to all. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Very quickly, good evening.
Yes, good evening. I'm Madam Doctor from the Are you hearing me, ma'am?
Yes, your question, please, very quickly.
My question is this. Let me ask your guest. With the role the U.S. is playing so far with what we are seeing in Gaza, concerning collateral damage here, abuse of human rights and denial of people's food during the war, ask your guest that in case of future, in history, if the United States, such a thing is happening somewhere like as it has happened in Darfur, that make Omar Bashar to be declared wanted by ICC, I think that in future, if such a thing would be happening, and then in one country, and then maybe U.S. will now raise up his hand in the Security Council to vote to sanction such a leader, how would the world look at U.S. that time? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think that's a question about hypocrisy, although she used Gaza. But I'll let you answer those questions you've got in front of you.
Okay, so number one.
You have 2 minutes. Yeah, 2.
Okay. The first one, I didn't catch that properly. But the second one, in terms of did Omar al-Bashir, should we have stayed with Omar al-Bashir?
Yes,
absolutely.
Would it have been better?
Okay, then let's just all die on our knees, then rather stand up for something. And if that was the case, Omar al-Bashir was the one that brought this mess in. He created the Rapid Support Forces in the first place. No. The people spoke clearly. What's happened has happened. That is in the past. There are no regrets. Right. We have to move forward. That's the only way. Number two, number three, the use of a country to negotiate with the UAE. To answer that question, we have tried multiple times to negotiate with the Rapid Support Forces and the UAE. However, the pattern that has been since the 15th of April is that whenever there are negotiations between the two belligerent sides, one in particular, the Rapid Support Forces, breaks ceasefire conditions and does further attacks. This breaks goodwill between the belligerents and any kind of prospect of peace. And number four, in terms of the hypocrisy, and was that Ruto, I believe, or something like that?
Yeah.
Essentially, Ruto and Kenya, the Kenyan government with Ruto leading it, is in the pockets of the UAE. You can go and look on the records last year. Kenya does not grow gum arabic, and yet Kenya became the top exporter of gum arabic in Africa. And the only reason why that happened is because Sudan, which is the top exporter of gum arabic, the gum arabic was being smuggled into Kenya by the Rapid Support Forces. And this new government of unity and peace that the Rapid Support Forces have set up was actually done in Kenya, Nairobi. And you have to look at Vice President the former Vice President of Kenya, Muchungi, I believe, who came up with an expose detailing intricate details of Kenya's involvement and Ruto's involvement with Hemiti and with the UAE.
Right, excellent, well done.
There was a first question there.
The first question was actually a text. Let me read it again. Is the pathway to peace and stability sustainable in Sudan with the foreign influence supporting the two generals? That was the first question.
No, because then it's never Sudanese. It's not the Sudanese people will. It's the will of others.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they may be fighting in Sudan. They're using our bodies and blood, but they're best friends on the outside. So no, let's not.
Elbashir Idris, you have to come back. Like I said, there's never enough time. Ever enough time to talk about Sudan. Thank you so very much for coming on Borderlines.
Thank you for having me, and I wish you a great rest of the day, and thank you for giving us a voice.
Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Yeah, take care. Bye-bye.
You hear it from us.
We tell you who,
when,
where,
and how it was said.
Lagos Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has commended...
More news and information coming up. We'll be back in a moment. 99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.